Takže vítám vás na našem webináři a děkuji všem, kteří si dnes udělali čas a přidali se k nám. Naše první část bude v češtině, kde vám představím v krátkosti naši firmu pro ty, kteří nás nebo nevíte o nás hodně informací. A poté předám slovo našemu generálnímu řediteli, Viktoru Chang. Takže welcome everyone, and thank you for joining our webinar. As I mentioned in my previous emails, the first part, very short part, will be about our company Infortrend, and the rest of the webinar will be in English. So I will start. Dobrý den, jmenuji se Monika Janatová a pracuji pro firmu Infortrend jako Inside Sales. Mám na starosti EU region. Naše firma byla založena v roce 1993, takže působí na trhu již dlouhých 30 let, což ukazuje, že jsme finančně stabilní firma a jedna z nejdéle působících storage firm na trhu. Máme více než 800 zaměstnanců, z nich se polovina podílí na vývoji software a hardware pro naše produkty. Dále máme náš office v UK, který byl založen v roce 2000, takže vlastně naše kancelář funguje již 23 let. Jak vidíte, tak naše kanceláře máme v US, UK, v Německu, v Číně, Japonsku a naše headquarter je v Tajvanu. Prodali jsme více než 1 milion diskových polí a naše dodací lhůta je 2 až 3 týdny. Tady vlastně vidíte naší kancelář, sídlíme v Basingstoke, což je nedaleko Londýna. Kromě toho, že tady máme kancelář, tak máme i warehouse, odkud vyřizujeme veškeré záruky. Je pro nás tady vlastně tím slidem effortless to work with. Co tím chceme říct, že se zaměřujeme na to, aby se vám s námi pracovalo jednoduše a hlavně bez problémů. Proto nám záleží na tom, abychom zůstali blízko projektu a komunikovali s našimi partnery v Evropě od začátku projektu. Chceme se zúčastnit schůzek, abychom se mohli adaptovat jakýmkoliv změnám v projektu. Náš pre-sales tým vám samozřejmě poskytne tu nejlepší konfiguraci pro požadavky projektu, což se týká jak finanční, tak výkonnostní stránky. Velice rádi vám ukážeme kompletní prezentaci našich demo jednotek, abyste viděli, jak budou naše produkty fungovat pro vaši firmu. A pokud budete mít zájem, můžeme vám také půjčit náš Evil Unit, abyste si mohli sami přesvědčit o kvalitě a performanci našich výrobků. Umíme na dálku nakonfigurovat naše zařízení, abychom si byli jistí, že naše zařízení dává maximální výkon pro daný projekt. A máme také vlastní lokální support v našem jazyce. Tady vlastně vidíte 3 hlavní pilíře našich produktových řad. Takže náš první je Reliable Enterprise Sun Ion Store DS. Toto je blokové úložiště s flexibilní konektivitou. Náš druhý velice zajímavý produkt je On-Premise Hybrid Cloud Unified Storage Ion Store GS, kde máme blokové a file level úložiště v jednom boxe a je tam možnost připojení na cloud a máme podporu těch hlavních cloudových providerů. A náš poslední produkt je High Performance Scale Out and Up na Solution Ion Store CS. Toto úložiště má výhodu v tom, že lze škálovat přidáním více jednotek a tím zvýšit výkon. Tady vlastně vidíte, na jaké vlastně application se zaměřujeme od Cloud Backup až po General IT. Takže pokud budete mít jakýkoliv projekt týkající se těchto applications, určitě nás kontaktujte a velice rádi vám pomůžeme s konfigurací na tyto projekty. Tady vlastně, jak my sami vidíme naší pozici na trhu. Takže díky našim produktům, které máme, pokrýváme nejenom enterprise level, ale také vlastně vrchol SMB trhu. Tady vidíte naše zákazníky. Od Ministerstva České republiky máme zákazníky Západočeské univerzitě v Praze a Městská knihovna je náš zákazník už dlouholetou, vlastně už řadu let, několik let. Tady vám představíme výhody spolupráce s naší firmou. Takže i hned po registraci projektu vám dáváme slevu na projekt a technickou podporu společně s ochranou projektu. Pokud máte zájem, jsme schopni vám zajistit remote demo session a produktové školení našeho kompletního portfolia. Pokud s námi někdo chce blízko spolupracovat, máme možnost nastavit unikátní program pro každého našeho partnera, což se týká ceny a dalších výhod. Pro jakýkoliv technický problém máme náš technický tým, který zareaguje velice rychle na jakýkoliv dotaz. A také důležité je zmínit, že máme warehouse v Německu, který zajistí dodání veškerých náhradních dílů. A tato služba se jmenuje On-Site Service. Vlastně tato služba On-Site Service také vlastně zahrnuje, vlastně máme engineer, vlastně technika, který je schopný též do druhého dne prostě navštívit vlastně vaše kancelář nebo prostě to místo, kde je ten unit a je schopný opravit nebo zjistit vlastně příčinu nebo poruchu. Takže toto je vše zahrnuto vlastně v tom našem on-site service. A nyní po této krátké prezentaci předám slovo našemu generálnímu řediteli Victor Chang, který vám podá informace vlastně o našem produktu, novém produktu. So, Victor, you can start.
Okay, can
please.
You end your
Yes,
slideshow?
I will do that.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, yeah.
Great. All right, thank you, Monica, for introducing Infortrend Europe, where our office is based in UK, based in Stoke, and that is me in the picture. You can see that I'm holding 2 awards, and these 2 awards is well, I've participated in this a very storage-focused award ceremony, and Infortrend is one of the only 2 vendors that have received 2 awards in that ceremony. So the other vendor is a tier 1 brand from the US. So I am very honored and proud to be receiving 2 awards on that ceremony. So in today's presentation, my part is more focused on transform your data protection strategy with Infortrend storage arrays. And as you can see below, without a doubt, those are some of the highly recognizable backup software solution vendors in the enterprise market. So my slide will be referencing more on Veeam's architecture, but the ideas are quite similar across different backup software vendors. So just a quick refresher on Veeam's current V11 version. So Veeam separates their backup into 3 different tiers: performance tier, capacity tier, archive tier, and each has their own different purposes. So this is a typical architecture for V11, version V11. And to achieve data immutability to protect against ransomware, data has to back up to a Linux server first in the performance tier as a hardened repository. So this is how they can achieve data immutability in the performance tier. Then after that, depending on your company policy, you can then copy the hardened repository to a capacity tier and then move on to a archive tier. But however, to achieve immutability in other tiers, it has to be either S3 compatible storage or Amazon S3 clouds. Okay, so with this architecture, you can achieve 3-2-1 backup policy, 3 copies of the data in 2 different storage mediums, and one of which is offsite. So that's the V11 architecture. So moving on to V12, which is the next upcoming version, which introduced a new approach to backup for Veeam. So straight away, you notice the change in the performance tier. You no longer see DAS, NAS, dedupe appliance, hardened repository. They are now all replaced by object storage target. Now there are 2 main messages here. The first message is object storage provides the performance and the capacity suitable for backup application. The second message is Veeam is introducing the concept of no local storage, and they are pushing everything onto the cloud. So this new approach definitely is the next logical step for Veeam, and I'm sure that this will benefit some of their customers with larger installation across multiple different countries. But if we take a moment to think about this approach, there is actually a gap here where Infortrend can fit in, and we're also happy to work with our channel partners to fulfill. But before taking this a bit further, let me quickly introduce you our EonStore GS family. So just in a few sentences, EonStore GS is designed as an enterprise level storage with redundant controllers, redundant power supplies, and with Infortrend patent RAID technology. It can host block volume, file volume with dedupe and compression, and object storage in one GS appliance, all at the same time. So in addition to that, by enabling EonCloud Gateway with additional license fee, it allows our EonStore GS to connect to popular clouds, to have one-to-one copy or to offload code data to the cloud. So how does EonStore GS add value to Veeam's V11 and V12 architecture and also benefit your customers? In the current V11 version, you can attach EonStore GS as a block volume to the Linux server to store the first hardened backup. Now, at the same time, you can create a separate object storage volume on the same EonStore GS to store your on-prem second immutable backup. Now, in addition to that, you can create a file level pool with dedupe and compression for general network file sharing with your clients on the same network. So with just one EonStore GS, it replaces your DAS, it replaces your NAS, it replaces your dedupe appliance, and it achieves immutability with 2 copies of immutable backups. And in V12, being able to connect directly to a S3 compatible object storage in the performance tier give us the opportunity to position our EonStore GS as the primary immutable storage for your backup application. Now the same applies to the capacity tier, where you can utilize another EonStore GS as an offsite immutable backup target. So EonStore Infortrend EonStore GS family has received Veeam ready certification for repository, for object, and for object with immutability. You can find this information on Veeam's website. So now let's have a look at the scenarios. This is a typical disaster recovery using V11 for large organizations. They have their own data center and also utilizing cloud as their capacity tier for secondary backup. So with this structure, all the aspects are considered: hardened repository, offsite object repository with immutability. So how can Infortrend add value to this proposition for smaller enterprises? From our point of view, having an EonStore GS in place in the performance tier as a SAN storage to the Linux server for hardened repository. It can also be an object repository as an immutable backup target, and also again provide file sharing for the local work group. At the offsite regional office, another EonStore GS can be set up as the capacity tier for customers' data center, whilst it can also provide file sharing for regional office work group. Okay, so this is for the V11. With V12, the upcoming version, you can see that the scenario is much more streamlined with the concept of no local storage, no edge, no branch office, thus pushing everything onto the cloud. However, this is aimed at larger organization who wants to fully embrace the cloud and are taking the steps to reduce their local storage and on-prem hosted applications. So this is definitely a fantastic idea, but this approach may not be suitable for smaller organizations or smaller enterprises who do not have enough budget or bandwidth pushing all the data to the cloud, and also would appreciate predictable cost structure of a local on-premise, versatile, fast performance, affordable storage array from Infortrend. And this is what the scenario looks like with Infortrend EonStore GS in the V12. Having on-prem EonStore GS reduces the time to complete an immutable backup directly from the backup, Veeam backup and replication software, provides much higher performance, lower latency to finish the backup, and also a commercially competitive cost structure. Now at the offsite regional office, the second EonStore GS allows you to store a second immutable backup copy. And of course, with the backup software, you can then push the backup data to the cloud as a third backup copy. So this scenario achieves 3-to-1 policy and helps reduce the complexity of managing different servers and storages, and therefore keeps you focused on productivity. So this is how Infortrend EonStore GS can be suitable and can bring benefit to your customers in V11 and V12's Veeam version software. So that's it from my side. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat box or raise your hand. we'll answer them in the Q&A section of this seminar. So now I'll pass it on to Eric, who is based in Taiwan as our pre-sales engineer.
Thank you, Victor, and thank you, Monica, for your interesting slides. And now we were going to show you how we can achieve our GS and also with the immutability from Veeam. So allow me to share my screen first. Should be this one. Okay, so can everybody see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, so before we jump into the lab and the connectivity with Veeam, first, let me introduce briefly about our Ion Storage GS and how the interfaces are like. So in this, in the screen now is the is the interface after we log into the GS system, and we can manage everything of our GS storage over here. So to show you, we have created some put some of the drives there and created some of the logic disks and pools and also volumes. We can go by the settings here, and on clicking the settings, we can see that we can do a lot of things from here, and also with a picture so that we can better understand what all these functions are about. So for like system, we can know all the system information here, from general time to like powers or enclosure views. Oh, sorry. And if we go to access, we can view all the network accessing channels from here. So we can see any kind of network related functions over here. And then if we go to privilege, we can see that we are able to create from users to user groups, and also we can be integrated with AD or LDAPs, so on and so forth. And if we can go to storage, we can see all these storage features, all these storages from pools, drives, or if we have any SSD cache being installed in the system, we can view it. We can view everything from here. And also, if we go to scheduling and backup services, from here we can create a different task, from replications to snapshots or to the new feature deduplications. So then we can make all these features to be taken place at a certain time. Okay, if we continue to go to applications, this will be some of the additional applications that we made and built in within our GS. So we have features from antivirus to file explorers, or we also have proxy servers, and also the most important thing on this webinar will be this object storage feature. I'm going to go through this for more details maybe later. And also we can have different features from update or security, so we can always keep our firmwares updated. And also we also provide some of the Ion Cloud Gateway features, so that we can enable the service from here, and then we can have different we can view our gateways from this section. And also if we are all new to the system, we also have an initial setup reader over here. So this can help and guide us through from beginning to finish the configuration of the Ion Storage GS for the first time. So we also have this wizard to guide us through everything. And finally, because our GS now supports a feature called scale out, if we have the scale out feature enabled for our GS, then we can go to this cluster session and then go and configure all the scale out related features from here. Okay, so because today's topic is about the cloud, it's about the object storage and the immutability, so I'm just going to guide you through the storage configurations that we already have in the system, and then the object storage feature. So let us go to this storage first. So from this storage, you can see that we've already have some drives plugged into our storage device, and then we also have one pool being created out of these drives. And then because we are going to make an object storage afterwards. So then we will have to assign a dedicated volume to that object storage. So from here, we have created one volume called obj object. And from the information, we can see that this is reserved for the object storage feature. Okay, so this will be how our storage are composed in this system right now. So if we can now go to the object storage feature, so we can see the object storage feature from application here. And then we can go straight to the object storage here. Okay, if we are first to the system, we might notice that everything is closed now. So we can just enable the service simply by enabling this, by clicking this button. So then we can enable all these object storage service, and then we can have the server endpoints from here. So if later we are going to access to our object storage, we can access from this network connections. Okay, continue. So from here, we can see that we'll have to assign one particular volume for the object storage device. And because we have created one, and so here we can see that this volume based on the pool name called pool, and we have this volume has been assigned to the object storage over here. So now our object storage have been officially enabled. So to start using all the object storage service, we can start with creating buckets in our object storage. And by doing that, it's pretty easy. We can just click on add, and then we can start to add any buckets that we would like to add. So from here, we can assign one bucket name. So for this demo, that's have the name just called demo. And here we can also notice that there's a little checkbox called object lock. If we checked the box, then this bucket will have the immutability. In other words, the data stored in this volume cannot be deleted based on the immutability regulation that we set. If we let it unchecked, then this bucket will not have the immutability feature. Okay, so because today we are going to introduce the immutability feature, so let's just check this little box over here and then click on OK. And then we will see that this bucket has been successfully added to the system. It's here. Okay. And if we scroll to the bottom part, we will also see one section called key management. This is to create a user that can be later used for all other services to connect to our Eon Storage US. So because we were going to integrate our GS with Veeam. So here we have already created one user called administrator, and the access key, by creating this user, we will generate an access key and also a secret key based on the attached to this user. So these keys will be later used on Veeam to as it's kind of like the aspect of password, account name and password. So it will be later used to connect for Veeam to connect to our Eon Storage US. So we can just keep these informations on our notepads or elsewhere. So we can just simply copy and paste everything. Okay, so this will be the Eon Storage US guidance, and also the object storage that can be served as the performance tier. Okay, so let's jump to the Veeam part. Okay, so now we already created a Veeam on a different Eon Storage US. You can by the previous introductions, you can consider this Veeam device was built on a capacity tier, and this is provided by another GS. Okay. That's all right. So from here we have entered the Veeam interface, and then we can see that we can start to create the repositories and then start to link the Veeam application to our Eon Storage.js, and then to start with the object storage services. So to begin with, we can go to, this is the interface. So we can go to this backup infrastructures over here. And by going to this section, we can see a lot of different things here. So to begin, we can navigate to this backup repositories over here, and then start to create two different kinds of repositories. One is the performance tier, and the other one will be the capacity tier. So we will begin with the capacity tiers first. So we can create the repositories by right-clicking on here, and then start to add backup repository. And because we are now creating a capacity tier, so we can just simply do this by choosing the direct attached storage from our storage device, and then we would like it to be on Windows, based on Windows. Okay, so we will have to assign a name. That's just call it demo. Okay, and this will be the server. This will be a server that is provided from another GS as the capacity tier. So I'm not going to go through any every details. So let's just go through. Let's just simply go by next. Okay, and here we will assign one path folder that is being created on the local Windows OS. So we can just go through this Windows, and then we can put it. We can just assign it to be stored on wherever we like. So on this demo session, let's just locate this on our E disk. Okay, and then continue. So this part just saying that by creating this repository, we will also create another cache folders on this path. So if we are not going to change the path, we can just click on next. And this part we can have a little bit review of the things that we are going to create, and then we can just go through it by apply. And then let's wait for a few seconds for all the services to be created and also the repository to be created. So that's okay. If we see this, that means our capacity tier, which is the backup repository demo over here, has been successfully created. And then we can go through next and see the summaries over here. Okay, so now we have successfully created the capacity tier, and now we are also going to create another performance tier, which will be to link this Veeam application to the object storage that we just created previously. So we can start this with also right-clicking, add backup repositories over here, and on this part, we are going to choose the object storage over here. And because our object storage is S3 compatible, so let's choose the first one, S3 compatible one. Okay, and let's give it a name. Let's also call it a demo. Okay, let's also call it a demo. Okay, so now we will have to provide a service point, which if you still remember, we can just go through it again. Oh, sorry. Let's jump back here. The service endpoint will be the IP address to access through our object storage here, so which will be these two IPs. So if we go back to the Veeam, let's give it one of our service endpoints, which will be this one. Okay, so let's just simply copy and paste. And for credentials over here, remember that we, after created a user called administrator, we will have 2 different keys. So we can click on add over here, and then to give it the keys that we for that user. And so for here, the key will be, the first access key will be this one. And the second secret key will be this one. And then OK. So we can go by clicking next. So here the system will be checking the service endpoint and also the connectivity and also the availability of that user. And if no problems occurred, then we can just continue to assign the buckets and folders for this Veeam repository. So for the buckets, let's just use the buckets that we created earlier in our JS. So it will be this one, demo. And then we can start, and we can also choose folders for the repository to be located. So let's just create one new folder over here and click on OK. So here, one of the important parts for these steps will be this one. If we are going to make this repository immutable, then we'll have to check this box, this section. We'll have to check the box and set the immutable days for as long as we wish. Okay, so if you can recall, in the previous set, in maybe 10 minutes ago, we said that we can also create one bucket that is not immutable. By doing so, if we go to this session, if we check on this box, there will be a warning occur saying that the buckets that we chose was not immutable. So then we will not be able to use these features over here. But because for these buckets, the demo buckets, it is immutable. So then we can just check this box and set the immutable days that we would like it to be. So maybe for our policy, maybe we want it to be immutable for like 15 days. So let's just give it a 15 day and then apply. Okay, so after all these different configurations, we can just wait a little bit for the system to finish the initialization of the repository. So let's give it a few seconds, and now it's finished. So here we can see that now we have created a performance tier and successfully linked the Veeam application to our object storage device. Okay, so now we have created one performance tier and one capacity tier. There's another step that we need to do is we have to pair it together. So then Veeam will know that this goes with pairs. So everything will be connected from the capacity tier and the performance tier. So by doing so, we will have to go to these scale out repositories here and start to create pairs. We can create pairs by also right-clicking on this page and add a pair, a scale out backup repository here. So let's also give it a name. Let's call it demo. Let's also call it demo. Okay, so now we will have to choose the performance tier, which will be the object storage repository that we just created. So it will be this one. Okay, let's click on next. Okay, so for capacity tiers, wait a minute. Okay, so for capacity tiers, if we are going to link everything, then we can just go through it by clicking this one, and then choose the repository that we just created. If we haven't created one, we can start creating the capacity tier by clicking add over here. But because we have already finished one, so we can just choose the one that we have assigned, have created in the system, and then we can just go through by apply. Okay, so let's wait a little bit for the scale out and the initialization to be done. Okay, so now it was successfully created, and that's king. So we can just click on finish. So now we have created one performance tier, one capacity tier, and then we have paired it together. So now we can start to create backup jobs and then start based on the repository that we just created. So to start to create a backup job, we can navigate to home here. And from jobs, we can go here and then right click on the interface and then start to add backup jobs. Okay, let's go back up. And for this example, we would like to backup VMs. So let's call it a backup job demo. Next, and then we can choose the virtual machine that we would like to back up. This one. Next. So from here, these are all the detailed settings that we can set for these backup jobs. So I'm not going to go through any details. So we can just choose this one. Here, we will have to choose the the backup repository that we just created. So the one that we created will be named as demo over here. This one, the scale our backup repository demo over here. So this will be one of the important part also. And then we can go to next. And here we just go next. And then if we would like the backup to be scheduled, then we can just check the box and set the schedules that we like and apply. Okay, so here we can see all the summaries of these backup jobs. Okay, so now we have successfully created one backup jobs. So if we are going to back up any jobs in the future, this will be based on the object, the immutable the immutable repository that we just created. But in today's demo, I'm not going to do the backup jobs because it could take quite a while. But fortunately, I have another backup jobs which was created earlier, and it is also based on the immutable repository. So from here, let's try to delete these backup jobs and see what will happen. So from here, we just go to delete this one. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, that was a mistake. We should not delete the jobs. We should go to backups and delete the backups. This was the backups being created based on that repository. So sorry, I made a mistake. So from here, we should be deleting the images also that is the backup images being created on the Veeam. So we should be trying to delete the image instead of the backup jobs. So we should be deleting this data. Okay, so let's try to delete this one and see what will happen. Okay. Okay, so to delete the VM backups in the Veeam application, we can see that there will be some warnings popping out from the message box. And then if we navigate to the warning message, we will see that it says this one is failed to be deleted because the capacity tier is immutable until 14th of October. So before this time, these backups will not be able to be deleted because of the immutability. Okay, so this will be it for all the demo sessions. So this session has covered how we can do the object storage services from our GS and also how we can link everything together with Veeam to set a whole solution for the immutable object storage services. So this will be it. And I will pass the rest to Victor. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for the demonstration. It's very useful to see it in action. Any questions so far? Anything you'd like to ask, you can feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat box. But if you can't think of anything, if you want to reach out to us, you have Monica's email address. You can send her an email. We'll get back to you as soon as we can about this feature, object storage, about immutability. We're happy to provide information to you by email. And Monica, do you want to ask that in Czech? Maybe
Yes, yeah, definitely. I can do that. Thank you so much, Victor. Pokud někdo má nějakou otázku, tak buď zvedněte raise your hand, nebo zvedněte ruku, nebo nám pošlete do chatu tu otázku a my vám na to co nejdříve odpovíme, nebo pokud až vlastně skončí tady ten webinář a vy si řeknete, ježiš, já jsem se chtěl zeptat tady na to nebo tady na to, tak klidně mě kontaktujte, určitě máte všichni moji e-mailovou adresu, takže rádi odpovíme na jakýkoliv dotaz. So I just ask in Czech language that they can obviously contact me via message, or if they want to ask any questions now, that we are more than happy to reply.
Okay, so it seems that there's no question during the webinar. So if there's no further questions, we will end the webinar now. So thank you very much for taking the time to join this webinar, and I hope this has been a useful webinar for you to understand how immutability works with our Untitled.js family. So yeah, thank you once again for joining.
Děkujeme moc, že jste se zúčastnili našeho webináře a přejeme vám krásný zbytek dne. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone.